Are the Mets for real right now? They are on pace for 93 wins, which would turn Sandy Alderson into a liar by 3 wins.
They are not for real, Michael, but it is really admirable the way that they're playing. When I say not for real, they deserve every bit of where they are right now. If you're asking me, are they going to make the playoffs and win 93 games, the answer, I think, is no. But you really have to give them credit for some of the things that have gone wrong in the last year in that organization, and yet here they are with a very good record, playing very well. I think Terry Collins deserves a lot of credit for this. But do I think this can keep up? No, I don't. But do I think they're a pain in the neck to play? Yeah, I think they are, because they do things the right way there. And with a little more talent, they would be really hard to play.
And the killer thing for them is the closer situation. Farnsworth didn't even make the team out of training camp. And then you have Daisuke, who I don't think is a long-term answer. So is there anything they can do to get a closer, or at least another attempt at somebody else besides those two?
I don't think so. Again, to be in the spot they are with Valverde and Farnsworth and Daisuke at the end of games, guys who shouldn't be there in the first place, all things considered, pretty darned impressive. But, no, I don't think now is the time to go out and overspend for perhaps an accomplished closer. You're not going to get anything more than an accomplished one, meaning you're not going to get a great one. And if you do, you're going to have to overpay tremendously. And I don't think now is the time to do that. Just keep going the way you are, play as well as you can, and then figure out your closer situation maybe next year when you might be a bona fide contender for an entire year, as opposed to just a really nice and impressive start to this year.
And also, if they hang around long enough, they could call up DeGrom or they could call up Montero, and they could just bolster their bullpen with some of the young arms down in the minor leagues.
Yeah, and I told you, Michael, I covered the Orioles, and they used to bring up their best starting pitchers, granted a different time and different era, but they would bring them up and get them acclimated to the big leagues by putting them in the bullpen. Scott McGregor, Mike Flanagan, guys like that came up and learned how to pitch in the big leagues just for a little while, working out of the bullpen. Then Earl Weaver would say, okay, you're ready to pitch in the rotation. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to bring up a kid out of the minor leagues, let him pitch a few innings in relief, and then put him in the rotation.
Tim, what's the buzz around Major League Baseball about Tanaka?
Well, it's still really good. You know, I was kind of amused the other night at people who were worried about his command and everything else. He still gave up 2 runs and struck out 10 in 6 1/3 innings. If that's a bad outing, that's a really good sign. I told you guys that I talked to a bunch of guys in spring training who had seen Tanaka, faced Tanaka in Japan, and every one of them basically said the same thing. That stuff is going to play anywhere, big leagues, anywhere. And when you can throw hard enough to make a world-class split even better, and you have a really good idea what you're doing with your pitches, and you have a competitive nature about you that you're just not going to teach, I think all signs were that this kid was going to be really good the minute he got here, and he has been.
We're talking with our very own Tim Kurkjian here on the Michael Kay Show. Tim, you've seen it all over the years covering baseball. Are you surprised at how angry Yankee fans were with Robinson Cano last night?
Yeah, I'm not sure I get it, Michael, and I'm not just saying this, but I watched your broadcast last night, and I agree. I just don't think there's a villain in this. I don't think there's a bad guy. The Yankees made the right call not going over $200 million. The Mariners, who were irrelevant, made the right call. They had the money to do this. They had to bring in a star player to get people interested again. So you can't blame them, and you can't blame Robinson Cano. He won a World Series in New York. He was a very good player for 9 years or so. And another team offered him $65 million more. And that's not a small amount of money. So I didn't have a problem with him going. I didn't have a problem with the Yankees letting him go. And I was a little surprised with how angry some of those fans were with him last night.
Well, because it's like a guy that never had a girl break up with him before. That was really the first legitimate breakup that some Yankee fans have ever had to deal with.
Yeah, well, I know all about that. No woman's ever broken up with me either. But of course, I never had any women growing up, or, well, never mind. That's obviously another story. But,
Wow.
Yeah, I think there was something to that Yankee fans, I think the only thing that upset him, and I think, Michael, I'm quoting you here, to play the lack of respect card when $175 million is offered, you're not going to win on that. Maybe that's why they were booing. I'm not sure there was a really good reason other than that to voice anything against Robbie Cano.
Well, thank you for watching the game on Yes. I appreciate it. You have many other choices, Tim.
I do, and I love your guys' broadcast, and I love that whole, I can watch any game any night I want. It's the greatest deal in the world.
All right, any concern with the way Sabathia pitched? Because every game, I think he's pitched okay this year, Tim, but the one thing that strikes me is he has that one bad inning that he lets it get away, and he did that last night. I believe it was in the fifth inning where 2-0 became 4-2.
Yeah, I think there has to be concern here, Michael. Again, he hasn't pitched poorly, but for who he is, the money he's making, and the responsibility he has, 5 innings, whatever it was, 4 runs, just isn't good enough right now. And maybe it's time to at least start thinking that the great CC Sabathia of old, maybe he's not walking through that door. That doesn't mean he can't win games. It doesn't mean he's not an above-average major league pitcher. But if he's going to be the ace that's going to start Game 1 and Game 7 of the playoffs and maybe throw a 2-hit gem one night, that's a hard thing to ask of a guy who's thrown as many pitches as he has and has worked as many innings as he has. Eventually it starts to go, and making a transition from power pitcher to more of a finesse pitcher is a very difficult thing to do.